right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kakodas.
the honors to the apostles, and that was a great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. All right, we're just going to do a quick live lesson, through the Spirit. Lord willing, this is going to be edifying. We got a couple brothers here in the GMS Dallas camp. All right, brothers, doing live shows today. So, I just want to get straight to it, man. In the times that we're in, we're seeing obviously a lot of prophecy continuing to pop off, and people are getting up to their boiling point when it comes to what they're willing to tolerate. And so even when you look at what the policies, everybody's talking about Trump, being in that austere spirit. Everybody's talking about the tariffs and all these things, right? And when you look at like Revelation 18, for example, somebody can hold that on deck, where it talks about the nations are going to weep and wail when they see her destruction. People think that that it's just like a eternal war between America and China, for example, when they really make money off of each other. So we're gonna start there when it talks about Babylon being destroyed, because ultimately that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking forward to. Matter of fact, when you get that, we can drop down to I think it's like 2021. Let's just start. Were you trying to get a part to start at?
When you said that shall wealth, starting at 15, said the merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing.
Right. What verse was that?
That was Revelation 18, verse 15.
Okay, read it again louder. Call it out.
This is Revelation 18 and 15. It says, the merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing.
Right. And then when you read it, when you get verse 3, it talks about all the nations have been drunken with the wine of the wrath of her fornication, man. So these other nations, they have been benefiting off of the backs of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, when you look into how this devil came over here, the spirit that he was in, somebody can also hold Revelation 20 in the beginning, where it talks about he's going to be loose a little season, right? Also in Revelation, where it talks about Revelation 12 and 12, he has a short time. We'll hold both of those, And when you really look at the history of how this devil came over here, he was on, like we say now, demon time. He came over here basically to extract the wealth of this land, and ultimately the Lord put that spirit on Esau to be in that conquering spirit. Okay. Let's get Revelation 20 real quick. Whoever got that, the part where it talks about he shall be loosed a little season.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit.
Yeah. So Esau as a nation, which is the self-proclaimed white man, he was cast into he was cast out of power, man, during the I'll say the 3rd or 4th century, really, all the way up until the 14th century, with the birth of the Renaissance. He was basically like the scripture saying Job, basically he was relegated back to his base state, like how it talks about in Job, where it says I would not put him with the least of my flocks. He was put back in that caveman state, that low state. That's why they say, Caucasians, they came from the Caucasus Mountains during that time period. They didn't originate there. Of course, Esau was in the land of Seir, right? In biblical times, but during that 1,000-year period, which we're about to go into, he was cast into what says the bottomless pit. Read that again.
This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit.
Actually, start up where it talks at the beginning of the sentence. Yeah.
Okay. This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 2. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil.
Right. That's proof that's talking about Esau, the old serpent, the devil, the dragon. That's all going into the self-proclaimed white man, Esau. Okay. He is the seed of the serpent in the earth. Those are the three classifications of men. You got the seed of the serpent, the seed of man. Well, the seed of the serpent is Esau, Edom, right? The seed of man being what? The other nations, the heathen, and then the sons of the Most High. Okay, which is the Israelites. Okay, go ahead.
It says, continuing on in Revelation 20, verse 2, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to understand what does words mean. The devil, it means deceiver, right? Satan is Shaitan, adversary. He is the deceiver. He is the adversary of Israel.
That's right.
And that's why it's important to know who your enemy is. Okay? Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 20, verse 3.
Read the end of that verse 2 again.
Okay. This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 2. At the end, it says, and bound him 1,000 years.
Right. So he was basically taken out of the power seat. Okay. He was taken out of the power seat. You both got precepts, but he was taken out of the power seat for a time period. Okay. All right. And we just broke it down, the 1,000-year period. We'll say, really he started falling before 326 AD, but that was, you could say, like, officially when he was really through.
Right.
Because everything isn't always just a light switch. Sometimes things take time, to come into fruition. Because you had, by the time the 3rd and 4th century rolled around, you were already having Jakes, basically that were emperors, of Rome that were Israelites getting up in there because it was a paradigm shift.
That's right.
You see, but up until the Renaissance period, that's when he came back out, with his Renaissance art. We have the signs, we go into it on the other side. Saying iconoclasm, all those things coming back, right? But he was shut up for that time period, right?
That's right.
Go ahead.
This is Revelation chapter 20, verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled.
Yeah, so when you go into that history of like the Byzantine Empire, right, and how the basically there was a separation between the Roman Empire. It became the Western and the Eastern Roman Empire ultimately, and then you had Byzantium, or the Byzantine Empire, which was known as the Eastern Roman Empire.
Right.
That was all pretty much all Jake. Esau he didn't have that power that he had at with Julius Caesar and Tiberius Caesar, Nero, all them niggas. He was shut up.
That's right.
During that time period, during what he says the Dark Ages, right?
That's right.
And the point is in verse 3, and then we can go to Revelation 12. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Did you
So
finish it?
No. This is the end of 20. Revelation 20, verse 3. It says, and after that he must be loosed a little season.
Right. So that's the point.
Right.
He's in that little season right now.
Okay.
He's loose. He's like a wild animal.
That's right.
Which that segues into what we're going to read. And then, of course, one of the precepts brothers have, we've also got the Matthew 24 on deck, but let's get that real quick. Go ahead.
This Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them.
Mm-hmm.
Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
Yeah, 2nd Ezra 15 and 70. Somebody hold that as well.
It's 16.
Say again.
16. The insurrection.
What did I say? 15? Oh, my
Yeah,
bad. 16.
16,
Salakia. And read that one more time.
It's Revelation chapter 12 and verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea.
Yeah, Kahan, you had an article, right? You was going into looking at it earlier. Whatever. Okay, keep going.
Yep, it says,
Go ahead.
for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
Yeah, man. So his time, he's on borrowed time right now. That's the thing that, if our people really paid attention to what the Spirit was saying, okay, has obviously it's a finite, a limited amount of time, but the time that he has is over with, man. That's why when you read Revelation 18, which we'll go back to, it talks about a sin stacked up onto heaven, right? And even when you go to Genesis, you know, when the Lord, you know, basically explained about the iniquity of the Amorites needing to be fulfilled before that judgment came, you know, when he was explaining to Abraham, like, you know, the promises and the covenants that he was going to give to his, you know, to his seed, you know, there's a judgment that was already slated for Canaan that didn't actually happen until a dispensation of time passed, right? So this judgment that is written, right? Oh, let's get that to execute upon them in Psalms, to execute upon them the judgment written. 1 second. I think it's Psalms 147. You know, all right, because everything is predestinated, man.
I got to read that for you real quick.
Go ahead.
This is Job 14:5. It says, "Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass." All right. So Esau, Edom, like every other kingdom that has rule, has a time limit. Even though you have Donald Trump saying he's going to make America great again, right? He's basically fighting his own shadow. Right? These things already been determined. We're just waiting for that sentence to manifest itself here on earth, because his time is already up. He's reached a pinnacle, right? The golden years or whatever, where America was on top. But we're seeing the decline of America in these times, man. That all these nations are starting to hate the war.
Well,
That's a token as well.
Absolutely, and he's been on the decline ever since this truth came out. You know, ever since the Lord put the Spirit back on us to, you know, to basically teach this word, you know, and so I mean, honestly, like that's in what Revelation 11, you know, where it talks about the two prophets. You know, we had a time period where we were without, you know, Second Thessalonians chapter 2 talks about what the day of the wicked being revealed, and it's not going to come except there being fallen away first. You know, you know, it was prophesied that we were going to, you know, fall away from the understanding of who we were as a people, right? There was still a level of dominion that this devil was slated to have. We just brought it out in Revelation 20. You know, he says he must be loosed a little season. The visions and the revelation came directly from Yahweh Shai to John, the Revelator. So that was prophesied. You know, the Lord wanted us to know that and understand that. So it's like, okay, like, nah, just because this devil's in power right now, don't mean that that's the end all be all.
That's right.
You know.
Kind
of go ahead.
This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Let no man deceive thee by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first." And that's what you're going into, basically saying that, you know, as you know, Hebrew Israelites, there was a time where we would forget our inheritance. We will forget our power. You know, but now we're seeing through the Holy Spirit, we're seeing who we truly are, and now we're also seeing who this devil really is, which is Esau, Edom. And that goes all the way back into that fight in the womb, Jacob and Esau. It's playing out today, but it's playing on a much spiritual level as well, and physical. You got it.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's all that which was then, you know, is now. There's nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
All right. So this Holy Roman Empire basically, you know, got revamped. Okay, under the guise of the United States.
That's right.
Okay. And you know, ultimately the whore itself, you know, that's obviously this place, you know, Babylon the Great, the whore that rides on the beast, because you had you know, the city states, if you will, right, during the time of the Roman Empire, different vassal states, Salakia Thawada, that Rome had jurisdiction over, you know, and but obviously the center of that power was Rome itself.
Right.
Now, if you go to modern day Rome, that ain't where the center of power is at.
Right.
You see, modern day, you know, because you got Italy and Rome, people there, people living there, but that's not where all the shots are being called.
That's right.
Okay, it's being called from here. This place has the largest military power. This place has the largest influence of trade and everything in the earth. You know, monetarily. You know, they have this place on lock.
That's right.
You know, that's why when you read it, the whole chapter, Revelation 18, it goes into that in great detail. And then you have vocab Malone trying to say that that America is not, it ain't talking about America in Revelation 18. I remember he said that when he came out, you know, when the whole chapter is talking about America, Babylon the Great. You see, but where were we at? I think
What's the
Revelation 18.
Revelation 18?
Okay, did we get that, or would you? What precepts? Does brothers have any precepts? We'll get the Revelation.
Yeah, I got one. This is Wisdom of Solomon 1:9. And it reads, "For inquisition shall be made into the counsel of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds." So America, Esau, Edom is under trial, man. Okay, we use his own court system to kind of, play it out. Because you have witnesses here that's preaching according to the word of Yahweh Shem Shai, accusing this man according to what wicked looks like. Because we know he's contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments. We can use that to convict him, right, as we're signing crime for the abomination that be done here on earth against the children of Israel. Not even the children of Israel, but against the earth, because the earth is alive. So he's worthy of judgment, man.
Okay. And somebody get Obadiah 1:15. You know, where were we at on the Revelation 18? Who's holding that? Revelation 18. Okay. Yeah, let's get that Obadiah real quick.
This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 15. "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee."
Yeah, the day of Yahweh Shem Shai is near upon all the heathen. You know, not just Esau, but when you read this book of Obadiah, it's laser focused heavily on Esau.
That's right.
Okay, I mean basically from start to finish. Verse 1.
That's right.
Thus said the word of Yahweh Shem Shai concerning Edom. You know, so Esau is gonna get it. He's gonna get it in the worst way. He's gonna get that recompense for slaying his brother Jacob. He's gonna get his just desserts. Okay, but read that verse 15 again.
Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 15. "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee."
Yeah, so that lines right up with what? Revelation 13 and 10. You know what I'm saying? Because that's exactly what's gonna happen. And we're looking forward to it. Also, what is that? Is that 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and 6? You know, somebody can hold that as well. Go ahead.
"Thy reward shall return upon thy own head."
Read till verse 16.
Verse 16.
Read verse 15 and 16 together, Bible shop.
Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 15. "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head." Verse 16.
Hey, that's a big reward. And that word reward, if people think, somebody get that real quick. The Hebrew word for reward. It's not always a candy bar. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's a recompense, you know? See?
I got you. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get that real quick and then we'll come back to that. Obadiah.
Yep. This 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 6. "Seeing it is a righteous thing with the Heavenly Father to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you." Verse 7. "And to you who are troubled, rest with us."
Yeah, it's a righteous thing to Yahweh Shem Shai to recompense tribulation to those that trouble us. Now, to anti-Messiah Christians, because we got to make sure we identify who is the real believers or Mashiachim, right? Who the real ones that actually are for Yahushua in these times? It was never the majority of people. Okay, that's why persecution was coming. That's why persecution was always there. Okay, because the majority of people were not, they weren't able to receive the things that Yahushua was saying and teaching. You see, so they rejected it. And so when you reject it, Luke 17, you know, if they were of this world, the world would love its own, right? But we're not of the world, just like Yahushua is not of the world, right? So we're going to get persecution, but it says, read verse 7.
Yeah, I got you. It says verse 7. And to you who are troubled, rest with us.
Yeah, so it says, you who are troubled, rest with us. You know, so it wasn't just, somebody can get 1 Peter 3:14 as well. You know, get that next. Because it's not just, oh, we're just catching hell just for fun. You know, we get solace in that fact that we actually are going to get a reward. Okay, finish that verse.
Yep. It says, 2 Thessalonians 1:7. And to you who are troubled, rest with us when the Lord Yahushua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels.
You see that? And so people think that because he didn't come back immediately 2,000 years ago, right? Was there some parables that come to mind about this point? People think that because Yahushua didn't come back immediately, or I'll say when he was resurrected, you know, Acts the 1st chapter, you know, the apostles asked him, like, Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom unto us? Are you going to restore the kingdom unto Israel? And basically Yahushua told the apostles,
And he's received the Holy Spirit first.
well, they received the Holy Spirit at that particular point, because we're talking about Acts 1, which is the events immediately following the resurrection of Yahushua. It was a 40-day period,
That's right.
you know what I'm saying, of when, you know, the Passover, and he got crucified. Then on the third day, he'd been being risen. And then, you know, he for 40 days, you know, so leading up to the Pentecost, or, you know, the Feast of Weeks, you know, the Feast of First Fruits, those are all synonymous, same thing.
Right.
You know, Yahushua was suffering and appearing to them various different times. But, you know, that final time when he was like, okay, ascended up into heaven, right before that, you know, that was the time when the apostles asked him, Lord, are you going to restore the kingdom to Israel now?
That's right.
You mission the kind of, like, you know, we see
That's
you've
right.
been glorified,
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And Yahushua's response was, well, I mean, you know, it's it's ultimately down to the Most High when he want to send me back.
Mhm.
So people think, okay, well, the Lord, he's delayed in his coming. And there's multiple scriptures in the Old Testament prophecy that talk about Jake thinking that the Lord, you know, he ain't gonna come.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, the words that he spoke ain't gonna come to pass, or whatever. It's gonna be a long time until they come to pass.
That's right.
You know, and that's that thief in the night spirit
That's right.
that is gonna come on. You know, it's gonna overtake these people, man. You see? But anyway, I know whatever precepts or where were we at?
Let's one more verse on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 8. It reads, I'm reading 7 again. It says, and to you who are troubled, rest with us when the Lord Yahushua shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels. Verse 8, in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not Yahushua and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach.
Yep. So that's the thing we're waiting for. Flaming fire to come on this bitch. Okay, at the end of the day, because we can go all in, you know, into the different news. You know, we're praying for the fall of Babylon. We're praying for the fall of this whole system, society, this whole thing to be destroyed, which we know is going to be destroyed. We know it's going to be burnt with fire. You know, we already know Isaiah 13, the last couple verses. We'll hold that as well. We should have what? That's like 3 precepts we got on deck.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and get what we was holding.
Follow me.
Whatever, you know, y'all help me out. You know?
Absolutely. This is Ezekiel 12 and 22. And it reads, Son of man, what is that proverb that ye have in the land of Israel, saying, the days are prolonged and every vision faileth? Tell them, therefore, thus saith the Lord, I will make this proverb to cease, and they shall no more use it as a proverb in Israel, but say unto them, the days are at hand, and the effect of every vision.
Yeah, there's a proverb at that time in Israel, which is the same. It's the same, lukewarm spirit, if you will, amongst Israel that is going on. And we hear the word lukewarm. That's like to us, we get scared because that's like a buzzword at this point. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of overall the spirit of Israel. Like like one of the parables that Yahushua brought out was the bidding to the supper. We were basically sent out. Us as preachers of the word, we were sent out to bid to the marriage supper of the Lamb, right? And when you go into that parable, it talks about how there was a king or a man who sent out his servants to go and bid people to the wedding, but those who were originally bidden to the marriage, right? They were, they basically rejected the invitation, right? Which that was going into ultimately the circumcision, right? The Commonwealth of Israel, right? And then it talks about in that parable, somebody can find it. Talks about how the servants were told to go after that. After they were declined, they were told to go out and invite anybody that's willing to come. Okay, and that's the times that we're in right now. All right, where us coming back into our understanding of who we are as a people, we're all Israelite foreigners in these times.
That's right.
So we have to call on Yahushua. That's the only way to get back to the Heavenly Father.
I have that precept. So.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Matthew chapter 22.
Start at 4.
Start at 4.
Sister
Matthew
kinda explained it a little bit.
Matthew 22, verse 4. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen.
Start up at 1.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
This is the parable of the wedding banquet. Matthew chapter 22, verse 1. And Yahushua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king.
Yeah, the kingdom of heaven, meaning we focusing on the kingdom of heaven. That's the goal. We wake up every morning and we're like, man, can't wait for the kingdom, right? And kingdom of heaven, the Yahushua said the kingdom of heaven is within you. All right, what is within us ultimately is the word. All right, so it starts with this word being preached, and the instrument or the vessels that the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua is using to push His word is His men, right? So that involves us doing the work. Okay, go ahead, brother.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 3. And sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come.
Yeah, those who are bidden to the wedding, again, Yahushua said, what many are called, few are chosen, right? There was individuals of the circumcision that rejected the word, right? A whole ton of examples all throughout the New Testament talking about that. Even when you go to Isaiah, where it talks about being provoked to jealousy, I think it's like 60 something, provoking to jealousy, because ultimately, again, the word was taught specifically to the circumcision first. Okay, so let's keep going on that parable.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 4. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage.
Yeah, because we're not going to let anti-Messiah Christians hijack, the sound doctrine.
Sure.
They trying to include, if you a heathen and you like, man, this Bible is exclusive to Israel.
That's right.
And then you see parts where it talks about individuals that were cast off being able to be grafted in, this and that. Yeah, we bend the rules and make make it look like you can fit in there. That's what the ancient Sumerians was doing.
That's
They're
right.
not even Sumerians. Samaria, which would be with the area of the northern kingdom, right? The individuals that inhabited that area after the Assyrian Empire came in and extracted the Israelites from that land, they were heathen.
That's right.
All right, that was a common known thing. That's why you know the Israelites in Judea didn't fuck with them heathen. They were because they was heathen.
That's right.
You see,
That's beautiful.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little sidetracked. Where were we at?
Bidden to the marriage.
Back to
Matthew 22.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I want to get that scripture, provoke under jealousy.
You said Isaiah 66.
Is it 66? Hold on. It's let me see. Let's continue on that
Okay.
while I get this here.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 5. It says, "But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise." Right? Verse 6, "And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them."
Yeah. So you had in Romans 10:19 quotes it. It's I think it's in Deuteronomy actually. But yeah, get Romans 10 and 18.
Okay.
Verse 17. Somebody else can hold that.
Verse
Kahan,
Romans 10.
hold that on deck. Read that again, Kahan Babu Shah.
Okay, this is Matthew chapter 22, verse 6. Oh, I started 5. "But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise."
Yeah, so imagine you hearing the word, you hearing the invitation, that's to say, because when let's say you get married, right? That's what this is, the invitation to a marriage. Are you gonna go and out in the street just go invite strangers first, or are you gonna invite your family and friends that you know and that you know?
The people you know.
You know what I mean? So that's the logical process, okay? You know, and at that time, again, you know, you had Israelites that were, you know, in the Commonwealth of Israel, and they all had, grown up in the customs.
Mhm.
So that was the norm, okay? But Yahushua said, "A prophet is not without honor, save in his own house, amongst his own brethren." You know, because you get familiar. You know, people got familiar with Yahushua saying, "Oh no, we know his parents. He can't just. There's no way he can be the son of the Most High." Nah. Because we know who his parents is.
That's right.
We see him grow up. You see, so that was a stumbling block to them.
Mhm.
Right? Go ahead.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 6. "And the remnant took his servants and entreated them spitefully and slew them." Right? Verse 7. "But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their cities." Or their city. Verse 8. "Then saith he to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy."
Yeah, Isaiah 65:1. That was the precept that I was specifically referring to. Romans 10 quotes multiple precepts, but that was the one I was looking for. Let's finish that parable.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 9.
You know, you can break down as you go. You know what I'm saying?
It says, "Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage." And that's what we're doing as men of the Lord. We're going preaching on the highways, on the byways, bidding to the marriage, bidding to the remnant that are worthy to partake in the marriage, worthy to partake in the suffering and ultimately the salvation of Yahweh Shema Shai. You know, so you got.
I have a precept on the show. Because we're in that hour that the Most High is looking,
Mm-hmm.
and through the mouthpiece of the prophets, the elect. This is John 4:23. It says, "But the hour cometh, and is now, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him." Because brothers just read what? Those that were worthy, all right, from the beginning of time, all right? The Most High put that spirit in them to be worthy to receive this truth. Not the whole, flock of Israel, but the remnant.
That's right.
Okay, because it's more precious when you have, that few selection, that's going to believe on the name of Yahweh Shemashah. So this is that hour. Okay, this is the end time. If you really consider the clock, we're at the last few minutes before this kingdom of Esau Edom, is put down, but also the realization of the true men of the Lord, the elect of Israel, the 144,000.
That's right. I got that Romans 10:19.
Yeah, we can get that, but we had a lot of stuff held. I brought that out because I was still looking for it. Isaiah 65 is one that was the one I was specifically looking for.
Yeah, this Isaiah 65 and verse 1. I am sought of them that asked not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me, unto a nation that was not called by my name.
Yeah, and that's tying into what we just read in Matthew, with the parable. You finished that parable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you finish it?
I went to the
Word.
9 and 10 where it says bid to the marriage.
Where it talks about that? Read that again one more time.
This is Matthew chapter 22, verse 9. It says, go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage.
That's it. As many as we shall find bid to the marriage. So does that mean that, and now an anti-Messiah Christian, he gonna mangle and tangle that because he wanna wiggle his way into obtaining the blessings, just like the ancient Sumerians did when we were in the land, and then we had heathen acting as if they was Israelites too. You know what I'm saying? Even with the point where that's where you had that conversation with the woman in the well, in John the 4th chapter. And so imagine Yahushua looking at this bitch like, does she really think she is? She really thinks she is? Like, our fathers worshipped in these lands. Your fathers, you a heathen. You just been here for a couple hundred years, and you think that you Israelite now? You see, so that spirit has always been, that infiltration spirit. Of course, Herod, Herodian dynasty. You know what I'm saying? They were in there acting as if, they were actually Israelites.
Yeah.
Okay. So that spirit has always been in the earth. That's nothing new. It's what Christianity, the anti-Messiah Christians latching on to that spirit is nothing new. But in Isaiah 65 and 1, right, where it talks about I'm found of them that sought me not, that's talking about Israelites that came into the fold. When you get Acts, what was that? Acts 10? Is that Acts 10 chapter with Cornelius in there, or is that 11? Acts 10 chapter, and then the following breakdown of the vision that Peter received, what I have called clean, that called not thou common, right? And the breakdown of that, how everything, those sequence of events. That's why you got to really go into the scriptures and see how things played out before you even think about trying to teach somebody else. Not like, because you got all these anti-Messiah Christians. They swear that they know what they're talking about. You just been listening to your pastor yapping in your mouth, but you haven't even read the scriptures to actually see what's actually going on. And then the Spirit of the Lord got to be dealing with you for you to even get the sound doctrine anyway. You see? So that's why the teaching should be relegated to a finite amount of men, the ones who the Spirit of the Lord is dwelling upon. Okay? And that's why we get all the time knowing of who thou hast learned them. I think that's in Titus.
Timothy.
Oh, it's in Timothy, right?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because even back then during the time when the apostles were still on the scene, men who actually were around Yahushua when he was on the scene, still you had false doctrines and people trying to come up and create different factions and different ideologies under the guise of being having authority of the Lord, which that's false prophets and teachers. Let's get that real quick.
God, this 2 Timothy chapter 3, let me get verse 14. It says, but continue thou in the things which thou hast learned.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Continue the things which you learned. That's the key thing. So what are the things that you learned? That should be the sound doctrine, the true teachings of Yahushua. All right, no deviation from that. Okay, go ahead.
Yep, and has been assured of.
Yeah, you see, be fully persuaded in your own mind. Okay, before you even go out and try to call yourself anything. Be like, even when with Paul, you know what I'm saying? When Yahushua appeared to Paul, you know, on the way to Damascus, you know, he evaluated himself. He was like, oh shit, okay. He took what, 3 years to basically, you know, sup with Yahushua and make sure that he got right. You know what I mean? I mean, who can blame him? Look, even the apostles, they spent 3 years with Yahushua. Personally, I'm talking about, you know, before they were apostles, when they were disciples, they spent 3 years with Yahushua, his ministry, you know, 3 years, you know, soaking up game, you know what I mean, before he was delivered up. You see, so hey, you gotta be, you know, convinced that this is the truth, right? Because you're gonna go off of the foundation that was being built for the rest of your walk. So you gotta be convinced, you know, that this is the right way and this is the correct path. All right.
A little more.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, knowing of whom thou hast learned them.
Mm-hmm. See that? See, that's the key thing. You can't let go of that. You gotta know, and you gotta be like, okay, like, because you're gonna have times where I don't even want to say a faith waiver, maybe, but more so, you're gonna have times where you're gonna be tried. You know, you're gonna be tried. Like, somebody may come up to you with some shit that might kind of sound good, like, man, damn, maybe, you know, that what if spirit, like, you know, but if you actually ground it in the truth, that's why Matthew 13, one of the parables of Matthew 13, it talks about that, you know, the seed sown on various different types of ground. You know, you want to be sown, you want that seed to be sown in fertile ground so it can take root. Okay, that's what the scripture talk about, being rooted and built up in him, in Yahushua. Okay, because, you know, you know, you gotta obviously get the milk first before you can, you know, expect to proceed on with the meat. You see? So was that it on that?
Give me a little more.
Okay, go
It
ahead.
said, verse 15, it says, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures.
See, from a child, meaning it ain't talking about when you physically were 4, 5, 6 years old. It's talking about when you were converted. Okay, see, that's how you know this is a lifelong thing. Okay, when you come into the truth, you're a babe. You see, you know, you're born again. All right, your spirit, the Holy Spirit, transforms you basically into a new person. Okay, and you cast off the old man. Okay, the old ways of the flesh. Was that Colossians the 3rd chapter talks about that, you know. Okay, continue on about Kushan.
It says, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith, which is in Yahushua Mashiach.
Yep, you can break it down.
Yep, and that's basically what we're being built up in. Being built up in what? Being able to have a belief in Yahushua. Being fully persuaded in what Yahushua taught, what he stood for, and even applying it to your life. You being walking that same walk. But it takes you having to be learned to it. You can't just go, I'm gonna be like Yahushua. You gotta learn them. And then also you had that Romans 10 that speaks about how you gotta be taught. You can't faith coming by hearing the word, so you have to be taught by somebody.
Yeah, somebody get that. Because I know okay. You gotta help?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hold on one second. Okay. Did we finish that on that? Knowing who that was learning? That was
God, yeah.
All right. I know we could probably get more, but let's get some other stuff. Hey, you got that Romans 10?
Yeah.
Let's get that real quick.
This is Romans chapter 10, verse 13. It
So
says,
Slakia, did we ever get Isaiah 65?
God,
We got it? Isaiah 65 going? Okay, all right, I just want to make sure. Go ahead.
you want to get that?
Go ahead and get the Romans. Yeah, I just want to make sure we got Isaiah 65.
Romans chapter 10, verse 13, it says, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Verse 14, how then?
Hold on, wait. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Whoever shall be saved, whoever shall call upon the name of the Lord. So IUIC, like, bro, what's the name? Because I guess it's Christ.
Yeah.
I guess it's Christ.
Everybody knows Christ.
because that's in the salute. That's their salute. Most high in Christ.
Right.
Most high in Christ blessed.
Right.
Which, okay, we've been saying. I don't want to say we. From the old school, which is before I was born, from what the apostles tell us, the salute of what we say, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah, that salute has been in, well, that's in the Hebrew package, the proofs in the pudding. The proofs in the pudding, that salute's been there. So specifically about IUIC, they intentionally took the salute out and replaced it with Christ.
Sure.
Now Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, that's Ebonics. You see, that's some Edomite shit to say.
That's right.
That we don't got the Hebrew no more. So that's why we can't help but get on. We're gonna name drop IUIC. It's not a personal vendetta thing. It's just an edification thing. You see, I mean, Paul, he didn't refrain from specifically, calling individuals and giving examples of, what was edifying and what was not edifying, right? So we got to make sure that we calling it out. Now, where were we at? On that Romans 10. Was that the point?
13, yeah. I just
Help me out, Bible Prashad, because I ain't gonna remember all of them.
Yeah, I just want to add it because in the spirit, we saluting, Yahweh Bashem Shai. It's like into an energy, a power, just like chanting down the walls of Jericho, And every time we go into the highways and byways and we cry to Yahweh Bashem Shai, we're chanting down the wickedness of Babylon the Great, which is America. So when you take away that power, it doesn't have any power anymore. If you're saying Christ, it doesn't have any power, right? But when you chant Yahweh Bashem Shai, you know that's a heavenly calling. It's a heavenly chant. That's a vibration that Yahweh hears.
And I'll say this, like when we're on the highways and byways, and we got a new brother that's coming up, or a potential, I should say, sincere person that comes up to the camp, we may say, hey, read particular scriptures verbatim, right? So that way the listener can know what we're talking about. Because if it's your first time listening to GMS, because we say, okay, like everybody's heard of the Israelites, but not everybody has seen a GMS video, or has actually even listened to 5 minutes of a GMS video. If you listen to 5 or 10 minutes of a GMS video, you're gonna hear the name Yahweh Bashem Shai. Everybody hasn't necessarily been made privy to it yet, as far as GMS, because we know we can speak for ourselves. GMS, we're gonna push the name. We're gonna push the name of the Most High and the Son. We're gonna push the mark of the beast, being the RFID chip. We're gonna push various different things. The
Destruction of Babylon.
I'm saying, the destruction of Babylon being, I don't think any Israelite camp is saying that Babylon the Great ain't America. I think, as bugged out as a lot of other these camps are, we all pushing Babylon the Great being America. There may be discrepancy on, what the MOTB is and all that stuff, but if you ain't pushing that Babylon the Great being America, that's one of the main things that, you know what I mean? That's like saying, okay, well, damn, who's the Israelites then? You can't even get that right. But anyway, where are we reading?
Romans chapter 10, I'm on 14.
Okay.
It says, how then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? Right?
That's why the scripture say in Matthew 24 and 14, this gospel shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come. Everybody got to know that their judgment got to be proclaimed. So they have an ability to either take heed or not take heed. That's why Jonah had to go and preach to the Assyrians. He was pissed off because they actually repented. The Lord eventually destroyed them anyway, but he was pissed off about that because he was like, man, they gonna repent. I want to go out there and preach and go through the hell that prophet got to go through, and they don't get destroyed. But that's what the Lord commissioned us to do. We got to publish and proclaim His message.
That's right. It's continuing on, Romans chapter 10, verse 15. And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things.
Oh yeah, that's what we see happening, man. Lord gave us the true doctrine, the true gospel, the true good news. What? The new covenant being established.
That's right.
Where the house of David is built back up, where all the nations are in subjection to the Israelites, him being back on his throne, Yahweh Shah ruling, us being over all these nations, righteousness being back on the planet Earth. That's the new covenant being established, man. So that's the good news. It ain't good news to know that the niggas think that this is the end all be all. Oh, it's good news. I get to make me some money. I'm gonna give you a little white picket fence, have a happy life and all that. That's not good news. You're still under Esau. You're still in slavery, man. Paying taxes, eating jacked up foods, being oppressed daily. You know, that's not the good news, man. You got
If I can add to you real quick. You know, that's why it's so important to understand that these were epistles or letters written to Hebrew Israelites. Because it's not good news to the other nations. It's bad news to the other nations. Because you're going to be put under subjection. But who are in captivity? Who received the laws, right? Who were convicted of sin and being punished today. So if someone's telling you that this day or soon, pursuant to prophecy, these curses are going to be lifted up off of you, and this is what's going to happen to you. The blessing of Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, you're going to receive that if you're of the elect.
That's right.
So it's good news to somebody, but it's bad news to the other people that stole this, identity of who was supposed to receive this letter, because it's a federal crime to read someone else's letter, but Christians are doing that.
That's right.
If I make a point, that's why, as you know, y'all was going into earlier, how these anti-Mashiach Christians be trying to pretty much engraft all the other nations, especially Esau, because let's be honest, who wouldn't want this good news, right? When the Gentiles, they try to find any loophole, but the scriptures got pretty much all that covered.
That's right.
Right? You got to first understand the basis that, okay, the Lord is dealing with the nation of Israel. So anything that he's talking about is going to deal with the nation of Israel. But they just want to skip past that because, they want the blessing too. Oh, now we can be engrafted in. Not even understanding that if you actually go into the engrafting process, because it's an actual process, you can only do that with the same tree. Like you can do it with an apple tree, you can split it open, put a part of the apple tree in there, and it'll come as one. You can't do that with an apple and an orange tree. And that's exactly what these people were trying to do.
Yeah, real quick. This John 11 and 47 and 48. It says, "Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council, and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles." This was after Yahushua had healed Mary's brother. You see, so they saw that and it was like, "Oh shit, this is gonna make the Romans get mad at us. We're gonna lose what we've established, what we built up." And that's the spirit of the majority of these Christians, our people are in. They trying to build on this side. So that's why they want to say, "Oh yeah, these nations can make it." But that's why they'll kind of push the doctrine in a soft manner so women can be in a congregation. They trying to build on this side. Verse 48, at this point, it says, "If we let him thus alone, all the men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation." You see, so that's the spirit of JK. They ain't trying to have Esau come down on them. But you can't escape it, man. It's like if you're publishing and proclaiming this word, man, you're gonna be deemed as an enemy coming shortly, man. So it don't matter if you're trying to kind of change it up. Oh yeah, we're gonna try and teach doctrine a little bit softer. You're gonna still be looked at as an enemy. What is the Bible? What does this doctrine consist of? Israelites ruling and Esau coming out of power.
That's right.
See, so you can't escape that. That's what they're trying to do, so they can stay in a exalted position.
Yeah. The scriptures go to, why trimmest thou ways to seek love. Man, they're trying to seek love from pretty much Esau Edom. Also makes me think about Isaiah the 31st, also 36th chapter, how they go on to Egypt for help and stuff. So it just really goes to show that they truly don't even believe in Yahweh Shah. Just speaking of these other camps, right? That's why they're so quick to change the name. Like, oh, it's not Yahweh Shah. It doesn't matter. It could be Yoplait Yogurt or whatnot. And even for a certain group that is using the name Yahweh Shah, their actions it's not showing that they believe in the name. Talking about pretty much ISBK, because they'll use the name Yahweh Shah, but they're like, based off of the way they moving, talking about we serve like a nigga God and all that. It's like, nah, bro. And it's all just to cause really just division, which is really what Esau wants. All right? I mean, we believe that these people be paid off simply because of their actions, right? Taking turns going off oh, okay, this week you going off, or this week another camp going off, and they get mad at us for going for basically getting on them. But we do it as the priest said, for the edification for the body, right? Because we don't want no confusion to be put anywhere when it comes to amongst us, right? We're gonna tell you what the sound doctrine, which is 100% true.
But Matthew 6:24 says what? You cannot serve Yahweh and Mammon.
Yeah.
Right? You're straddling that fence. You think you're pleasing Yahweh, you think you're pleasing Esau. You're right there in the middle. Well, either one will destroy you, right? Because Esau ain't for your cause, and the Most High don't like that twisted,
Lukewarm.
for lukewarm mind.
Double-minded.
Yeah, never mind.
Oh, yeah.
I got a precept. Matthew 7:21. It says, "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven."
Okay, so that lets you know right there that not everyone that knows, because they know the names. A lot of people know the names. They'll say it in a joking fashion, right? And the ones that saying Lord, Lord is the ones that truly didn't believe in them names, because the ones that believe on their names are actually going to show that. The ones that truly fear Yahweh Bashem Shah, right? Because they believe in them names, therefore they're going to act accordingly, aka fearing Yahweh, fearing the Lord ultimately. Wherefore the other camps, they're not going to fear that name. They just going to know, like, oh, what's his name? Oh yeah, Yahweh Shah. Thinking that you could basically get the jump on the Lord, which is going to backfire miserably. You can read that in Proverbs, the first chapter, 20 on down, right? How they chose to do whatever they want, so therefore the Lord's going to leave them to their own way.
Mm-hmm.
So you trying to call on Yahweh Bashem Shah when at the last minute, knowing you ain't been doing nothing to like better your relationship with him or anything, it's going to backfire on you just like that, right?
And it says, "Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord." So meaning you can't just be a ass kisser or a man pleaser, or basically somebody that's acting as if, like, look at Judas Iscariot, for example.
Yeah.
Judas Iscariot, he was with the other 11 disciples with Yahweh Shai. He was in the mix. He had the exclusive. You know what I mean? He was out there. When you read in what is that? In is that Matthew the 10th chapter, where it talks about they were sent out. It names of different men, different apostles, I should say.
Yes, Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew 10, and it talks about Judas Iscariot being in that list, right? And when Yahweh Shai said, "Go out and preach, and cleanse and heal the sick and cleanse the lepers and raise the dead and cast out devils," Judas Iscariot was in the mix.
Yeah.
He was out there doing that with the other 11 disciples in the name of Yahweh Shai, right? So nobody's exempt, because at the end of the day, when that hour of temptation comes on you, okay, that hour of temptation, basically, basically when your faith is tested, that the last test, before it's decided, that your walk is over. For Yahweh Shai, that last test was him being crucified, right? For us, we had to finish the walk. But if you finish the walk before, guess what? The spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. You got to come back, and you're going to fulfill the same lot that you walked back then. So you got to just pray to Yahweh Shai that you're one of those men, and ask the Lord, to keep you in the spirit. Because if you're doing that in these times and you finish the walk, that means that you did it already back then. That means you've done it already. You just gotta continue. You gotta the time has to play out. Okay, time has to play out. But that doesn't take away from predestination. If you was with Yahweh Shai in the beginning, if you were one of the ones that Yahweh Shai prayed for, okay, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane the night before he got delivered up, then you covered. But you don't know. Your parents didn't tell us, hey, you're one of the 144,000. The Lord, the angel of the Lord came to us when we were pregnant with you. You know what I mean? And he told us it ain't like that. You know what I mean? Even Paul, it says the Lord, basically allowed Paul to get buffeted by Satan, lest he be exalted without measure, beyond measure, I should say.
Trying to grab it?
Yeah, I'm
No,
trying.
that was Tobias, 2 Corinthians 12, I believe.
Yeah, you know.
Let's see, I got you. This, I got you. This 2 Corinthians chapter 12, and I'm gonna start at verse 7. And it reads, "Unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given
See
me."
that? See, because the Lord was dealing with Paul on a high level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He understood things that not everybody, and then he also had a very high position of authority within the church. You know what I mean? You know, he was locked in the spirit, on fire, on a very higher level than we can understand, because you know there's levels. You just understand there's levels. You know, with anything, with boxing, with music, with you know anything in this world, there's levels. So in the spirit, it's the same way. Order, right? So Paul, you know, he had revelations and things that he understood that he couldn't even really articulate. You know what I mean? And the connection with Yahweh Shem Yahushai and things like that. That was, you know, very special, right? So read that again.
Yeah, this 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 7. "And lest I should be exalted above the measure through the abundance of the revelations."
Meaning and mentally thinking that, you know, because we all susceptible to thinking that we're too big for our britches. But that's that flesh coming into play that we gotta rebuke. We gotta fight those evil thoughts.
That's right.
You know, we have to. That's why when the disciples, you know, when Yahushua was still, you know, with them, when the disciples were just kind of going back and forth to see who was the greatest, you know, who among them was the greatest. In Matthew 18, 18, matter of fact, get that Bible size, all right, 18:1 real quick. You know what I'm saying?
This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 1. At the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Verse 2.
Yeah, because it was kind of like a, you know, a thing of who was going to be. Oh, you know what? Better yet, let's do this. Luke, I think it's Luke. Luke 9 and 46. You know, Luke 9 and 46. That specifically says it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, whoever got it.
Oh.
Yeah, I was just reading through. That's the one specifically, how it's worded. I like it a little bit. Go ahead.
This is Luke chapter 9, verse 46. "Then there arose a reasoning among them, which of them should be greatest."
Yeah. So talk about the disciples of that time, man. Like, man, I wonder which of us is going to be over. Who's going to be over who? It's 12 of us, so that means we can't all rule over each other, you know? You know what I'm saying? They were like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, trying to see, okay, like, who, you know, who be the top guy, you know? Right? Read that again.
This is Luke chapter 9, verse 46. "Then there arose a reasoning among them, which of them should be greatest."
Yeah. And then that whole spirit in itself of, because we're going to go back to that, hold that, keep that held in the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians. You know, comparing ourselves, the scripture talking about that. We dare not be as some others, comparing ourselves amongst each other. You know, we're not big on comparing.
I got that.
You know, comparing. You know what I mean? You know what's one? 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 10 and 12. Okay, yeah, hold that. Hold that. Come on. We'll get that real quick and go back.
Yeah, this 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse, let's see here, I'll do verse 12. Yep. It says, "For we dare not make ourselves of the number, or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves."
Yeah, like people that's like big up in themselves. Like, you know, you giving your the brother in the priest in Montreal, he did a video a couple of days ago titled
Where that main guy spirit.
Yeah, that main character energy demon, that main character demon of thinking that, you know, the whole world revolves around you. You know, egocentric. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be focusing on taking yourself out of the equation. How can I be thinking about how can I be a team player? You know, which is all going to go back to that 2 Corinthians that we started off on. But finish that out, Bo.
God, it says, but they measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise.
Yeah, you're trying to see who is the top guy. You know what I'm saying? Not, I mean, anything else, you can do that. Maybe try that. That's cool, cute, whatever. But for anything else, you know, in the world, but in the spirit, you ain't trying to be supposed to be trying to see who, like, for what? We all striving for the same penny at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So, what, you know, whether you were raised at the time, whether you were raised amongst the customs and laws and traditions of Israel, okay, you could be raised under the customs of Israel, but you turn out to be a demon. Or you could be like Cornelius, who, you know, ultimately, you know, he was an Israelite foreigner, but he was a devout man. He feared the Most High, this and that. Who was going to be more justified? You see, and Yahushua gave many examples of parables of individuals who were like that. You know, like chief priests that went into the synagogue to pray, thanking the Lord that, you know, he's not a publican and a sinner, right? And then the one who society looked down on for maybe his profession or whatever the case may be, but he was actually repentant. You know, he had that meek and contrite heart and that contrite spirit. That's the one that, you know, actually gets it. You see, it actually clicks, because the majority of the people here in this place, they're just bricks. They're like inanimate objects. They can't get it, you know. But go ahead, bro. That was it on that, right? There's one more. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, verse 13. But we will not boast of things without our measure, but according to the measure of the rule which the Heavenly Father hath distributed to us, a measure to reach even unto you.
See, you want to speak on it?
Yep. And that basically shows that everybody got a certain designated lot that the Lord gave them. So you can't try and get another brother lot because you might not be able to handle that, man. And likewise, another brother might not be able to handle whatever lot you have. The point is all working towards that same goal. We're going to the same path. It's like the Bulls 72 and 10. When they went there, they had all those role players on the team. But what? They didn't have those role players. They had Dennis Rodman grabbing boards, playing defense, or Scottie Pippen. Then Michael Jordan was going to do more. He made when they were the average many points he did. Because he had other guys playing other roles. So that's basically how it's going to force us to be a winning team for us to move forward. Really, the Lord will need us. But I'm saying he's using us for his movie. In order for his movie to move forward, what happens? Everybody got to accept that role. And some roles may look smaller, but to the Lord, it's all equal.
Yeah, made me think about how the scriptures liken us to a body. You know, how everybody been given gifts according to whatever measure the Lord gave them, pretty much, man. You know, because everybody can't be the head. Who's gonna be the arm? Who's gonna be the legs? Who's gonna be the toes? Right? So it's like it's all as a preset, man. It's a team thing, man. It's not like, oh man, I'm gonna be the main character. I'm gonna be the top guy. Like, nah, bro. It doesn't matter, bro. Because everything's already predestined, and whatever the Lord gave you, you just be thankful for that and grow within that. You know.
And the true measure is Yahushua. And the servant can't be greater than the master.
Yeah.
So you measure yourself to Yahushua, which is greater than man.
That's right. And just to add to what you're saying, I mean, we ultimately striving for mercy. You know, no one has it. You know, we all want to help brothers win. You know, get on those chairs, get out of here. That's ultimately salvation. So before salvation, you have to have that intimate relationship with Yahushua, so that he sees that you really are worthy of the mercy.
Yeah, and people acting like basically like they're entitled to salvation because I don't even know why the fuck you would think that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because your cousin is a teacher, or your cousin, I don't know. Or maybe like it's gonna take for people. What we know it's gonna take for people is to start dropping dead. You know, people famine. It's gonna take heavy famine, which people are not ready for. Famine is a huge, bruh. Famine, bruh. Yo, famine is gonna hit them. It's gonna hit this place, man, in a big way, and people are not gonna be ready for it, and they be confused and be trying to figure out what's going on, right? That's why we don't. Not everyone that said unto me, Lord, Lord. Who was reading that one?
Yeah,
that was me. You see, because That's the whole thing that sparked it. But like, you know, not everyone that says that is going to enter into the kingdom. You see, so you gotta be really focusing on okay, like Yahushua said, when I shall return, shall I find faith in the earth? Because we want to be exempt from judgment. That means that you gotta be exceptional. You gotta be exceptional, bro, in this world. Like how Enoch, the Lord plucked Enoch from out of the group of however many people, you know. You know what I'm saying? We should be striving to be like, okay, nah, like the Lord we want the Lord to look at us when he bringing that overflowing scourge, that wrath on that beast of destruction. We want the Lord to have compassion on our specific soul out of all the sea of souls, not our sister, not because, you know, like he may let your brother in the flesh, or your sister, or your niece, or your nephew and auntie, uncle, they get put to death. But you specifically, you enter your name here. You get a pass. Only you though. You see? That's how it's gonna be. It's gonna be like, oh shit, like I got 4 siblings, and I'm the only one of my siblings that made it onto the chariot. You see? Because I'm the only one out of my siblings that actually believed in Yahweh Shem Yahushua for real. Not, oh yeah, man, I respect what y'all doing out there. But because it's down to the Lord, it's the Lord's discretion on who he gonna save and who he gonna let get dusted off.
Yeah, he's gonna have mercy on who he wants to have mercy on.
That's it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a quick for you. Just Sirach chapter 18, I'm gonna get 20, and I'm gonna jump down to 24. And it says, before judgment, examine thyself, and in the day of visitation, thou shalt find mercy. So that's the spirit of true man of the Lord be in, understanding that we're unprofitable servants. We don't deserve to get the truth. We don't deserve to be where we at. But it's through Yahushua's mercy and grace that we're here. And likewise, even if we continue, it's of the Lord's mercy. So somebody that doesn't understand that this is if you don't understand how unprofitable you are as a servant of the Lord, then you ain't gonna be able to make it, man. You'll be having ego. You'll be thinking upon the wrath, like it says right here, in verse 24, Sirach 18:24. Think upon the wrath that shall be at the end, and the time of vengeance when he shall turn away his face. The grace period will eventually be over. So we trying to make sure we're on the good graces of the Lord whenever he starts to say, fuck it, no more word. I'm just gonna fully have all hell break loose. So we're in the beginning of it right now. But eventually, once the Lord has everybody to a certain level of faith, once everybody's on that level they need to be on, that's it. Lord got everything, boom, it's there. Family, like brother speak about, all that stuff is gonna hit. And if you ain't in this spiritual arc, you ain't in the truth, you ain't in good standards with the Lord, then that's it. But only a true man of the Lord will be thinking about that. So everybody else think they good.
Come on. Yeah. Because if you watching this video or any of the videos, you should be trying to figure out from the Lord, how can I serve you? Like, how can I get on your good side before you bring all this hell that's coming? Because if the doors of repentance gets closed and you left on the outside of it, well, how would I say? There should be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Yeah. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be. Of course, we know anti-Messiah Christians break it down wrong. That's where they get the idea of eternal burning and fire in your spirit, and your soul getting burnt up, and then you regenerate, and then you burn it again, you regenerate again. No, it's gonna be you wishing that the Lord would take you into the spirit world, but He's still keeping your spirit in your body to experience whatever unpleasant situation that you're going to be experiencing down here. Okay, and people, especially in America, don't get me wrong, like you got people catching inklings of hell, but it's really ain't. Come on, bro. Like the levels of comfort here in Babylon the Great that you get, even if you're a homeless motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? You still ain't starving to death. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd be wondering, like, how the fuck these people in downtown, like, when we used to go over there on the Pegasus Plaza, Jake be begging for 10 years, like, damn, you ain't died out, like, nothing yet, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we looking for it,
But you would figure out, like, I ain't never been homeless before. You know, you figure, like, damn, like, how the fuck they still surviving, bro? Like, he ain't been having no job for a decade. No AC, no heat. Like, out sleeping, but they not completely through like that because it's still, you know, they still, you know, we had our, I'll say commandments in place for individuals that are less fortunate, even amongst, when we had our sovereign land, you know, you leave a particular part of your crop to be gleaned for, you know, the orphans or whoever, you know, people that didn't have no, you know what I'm saying, they didn't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, we had stuff in place to support, you know. But yeah, man, Babylon the Great, you know, you can be homeless and still eat better than how a lot of people ate 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, you know. Because we're not necessarily in a famine in 2025 right now, or whatever today's date is. You know what I'm saying? You can still go to Target and get some chocolate covered almonds. You know what I'm saying? so we're not in a full famine right now, you know? But when it comes though, you know, people are gonna be trying to figure out how they can snap into a Slim Jim real quick. You know, that's what we're going into right here.
Right.
Go ahead, bro.
This continuing on in Luke chapter 9, verse 47.
Yeah, we'll get a couple more, you know what I'm saying? Whatever we had held that we didn't get yet, we can get them. And then whatever other couple precepts that we got, you know.
This is Luke 9:47. And Yahushua, perceiving the thought of their heart, took a child and set him by him. Verse 48. And said unto them, whosoever shall receive this child in my name, receiveth me. And whosoever shall receive me, receiveth him that has sent me.
Yeah, on the context of, you know, who's going to be the greatest, you know, that discussion of which one of us is going to be the greatest, who's going to be the head of who. And then Yahushua took that as a teaching moment to say, hey, look, you got to be humble. As a child, you're forced to be humble because you can get stepped on by an adult and die. Like, you're very, like, fragile. Somebody can pick you up and pull you out the window. Like, yeah, you can't do shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? So as a child, you're forced to be, you know, what's the word? Obedient. You see? And so, and humble as well. You know? And so you don't see a child, you know, puffing up their chest. Well, you got these demons, these YNs now, they be trying to act like you know, they got it all. They ain't got shit.
Right.
You know, but a child is supposed to be humble and meek, right? That's the point that Yahushua was saying. All right, that's what makes you that Luke 14:11. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. You know what I'm saying? That's what it means to be great. Okay.
Yeah. It's like I was gonna say, because before you decided to get that one, it said that in the Matthew, you know, he that humbled himself as a child, that's the one who did it. Yeah, that it goes into Luke too?
I mean, it's the last of the verse.
Oh, okay. Because I know in Matthew it said it for sure before y'all switch to Luke, how it says that them are the ones who are gonna be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, the ones that humble themselves to that little child. You know, as the brothers want to, because you know, child they could be coachable. You know, they don't know nothing. So it's like, dang. So it's like, you ain't got nothing but room for growth, which is a constant thing within this ministry. You know, just constant growing within your faith, your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, being more brotherly, showing that agape love. So them are the ones that are humble as that little children. Them are the ones that are gonna be consistently growing. As it says in the thing, I forgot. I know it was in Proverbs. You know how just shine us more and more to the perfect day. Yeah, them are the ones. So yeah, you got it, bro.
Continue on in the end of Luke chapter 9, verse 48, it says, for he that is least among you all, the same shall be great.
Yeah, the one who's humble, who has humility, man.
Yeah.
That's the Lord dealing with the lowly. That's why I said what Moses was the most meek upon earth. Men of the Lord that came to the Lord, they had humility. They was like, they came, it was, oh shit, like you want me, Lord? That's how Amos was too. He was like, I'm just, you know, the dude that does my little job. And you dealing with me? Yeah, that makes you more like if you a woman, you trying to what's it called? Like you talk to a woman and she's like more on that humble side, it automatically makes her more attractive.
You know what I'm saying?
You know,
Like she's like
More
like it's a
quiet.
pleasure. It's like a pleasure for her to talk to you. That shit's like, oh yeah, damn. You know what I mean? Most women, they don't have that. They don't have that sentiment when you talk to them. But you finally meet one that's kind of like a little bit like that, like a little bit subservient or whatever you want to call it, where it's like, damn, I don't have to. I'm not having to beg. This bitch ain't looking at me like I'm wasting her time. Wow, okay, that's actually a pleasant surprise. You know, so how much more we gotta be attractive to Yahweh Shai in that sense of wanting to be subservient unto him. You know, like basically like how you would want your wife to serve you. Okay, you gotta be serving. You gotta be willing to serve Yahweh Shai. Okay, y'all got it.
Yeah, I got that 2 Corinthians. We didn't finish it. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 12. I'm gonna start at verse 7 again, and it says, "Unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure." So you gotta see this. It was a plague. You know, he got some type of plague or some type of sickness got placed upon him to keep him humble. Because guess what? When you got shit going on, you catch your hell, you ain't gonna be proud. You're like, damn, man, I want the Lord to get this off of you. So like, you don't be in the spirit of wanting to be delivered. Meanwhile, everybody else who always think they good, who not in a state of being jacked up or not like sick. That's why y'all say I came to heal the sick. If you don't feel like you at this ease or you sick, you ain't gonna be seeking y'all trying to save you. You don't think you got it.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of the thorn is to pretty much keep you humble, so you don't get to the point to where you think you got it, you all that, you the man, because you can't, because you're fucked up. You know, we all damn, we in the flesh. You know, we all got little shortcomings. We all got our thorns that we got to deal with. Right, that right there, it's only used to keep us humble. Did you get to the dry part already?
Yep, it's right here.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it says verse 8. And it says, "For this thing I besought the Lord thrice."
Yeah, so the Lord, Paul, he basically asked the Lord 3 times. Right, that in the number 3, for the brother are into numbers, 3 goes into understanding. You go ahead, keep going.
Yep, it says that it might depart from me.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked the Lord, and Lord basically like, you just gotta deal with that.
Yeah.
Because like what's gonna go into, which is the next verse, that Lord, like, you got the truth. I'm still dealing with you. That's good enough. You know, because certain situations we all got to deal with. Certain thorns we have. It's certain, it might be a mental thing. It could be you might have to deal with an infirmity, or it might be a discomfort with your life you got to deal with. That's right into a thorn in your flesh. It's like the Lord got said, where you're just gonna be a brother that got to deal with that. And that's gonna keep you wanting to get delivered out of here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the Lord, He's gonna allow you some reprove in certain areas, but other areas like the priest going into, hey, are you gonna let that? It gets to the point where are you gonna let that pull you out the truth? You know what I'm saying? Because that's ultimately what Satan's trying to do. He's trying to pull you out the truth. Yeah. See, so we got to maintain that mentality. Go ahead.
Yep, this verse 9. And he said unto me, I will not speak in red letters, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. So he basically said, I'm still dealing with you in the truth. Yeah. So he basically was saying, in simple terms, deal with it. That's kind of similar to what the Lord told Job as well. Yeah. Like when Job was catching all the hell, the Lord should have told Job, hey, be a man. Yeah. Gird thy loins as a man. Yeah. We saw what Job was going through. So the Lord had an portions where he could deal with that. And likewise, Paul, whatever thorn he was dealing with, he could deal with it. So the Lord was like, no, this is reforming, this is refining you. You got to keep dealing with this thorn in the flesh.
And remember, if the Lord, that's one thing a Christian saying that I like, that they say, if the Lord can bring you to it, he'll bring you through it, roughly paraphrasing. Basically, if he presents you something, if you puts you in a situation, if you find yourself in a situation that the Lord puts you in, you're going to have the spirit to endure it. Otherwise, the Lord wouldn't put that on you. Yeah. You see, there's certain things that you're not gonna face day one because you can't handle it. You know what I'm saying? But if you're of the elect, see, that should be comforting to know that. Like whatever situation that I find myself in, that means the Lord, you're supposed to walk with that level of conviction and faith. Okay, if the Lord put me in a situation, I can get through it. You see? Look at what Yahushua went through. He had to go through all of that hell, and he went through it. So we know if he could, you know, we ain't gonna have to be tested on that level. You know what I'm saying? But look at how the disciples went. Look how the apostles went out. You know what I'm saying? They were killed. Peter was crucified as well. You know? So it was, listen, bro, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that we all gonna be martyrs, but, you know, you're gonna have them, what does that say? The tribulation of 10 days. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have that testing time, man. Don't be offended by that. You know? Go ahead.
Yep, finish out the verse.
Somebody had.
No, I just wanted to read it in the NLT real quick. So,
Oh yeah, go ahead. You can do it verse 9.
It says, Salaki. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9 in the NLT. It says, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Just reiterating, you know, and you're going to have those trials, those infirmities that you're going into. But ultimately, Yahweh shall put it on you so that you can maintain your integrity. He's watching to see how you want to move with this truth, and how Satan's gonna test you. You know, but again, if you know this, you know how it's giving you the spirit to endure it.
Yeah.
And that should be comforting.
Yeah.
You know.
So you finished up.
I was going to say real quick, and you know, with y'all saying that, you know, it just goes into 1 Corinthians 10-13. How the Lord is not going to tempt you above you're able. So if you believe in the scriptures, then you should believe that, okay, the Lord put this on me because I can bear it. Because if I couldn't bear it, He wouldn't put it on me. Right? Because you can name things that the Lord didn't put on you yet, because obviously you can't bear it. You know, and so whatever situation that you are going through as of right now, it's because the Lord has built you to the point to be able to go through it.
That's right.
And if I can add to what you just said, because 1 Corinthians 8:1 said, but knowledge puffeth up. This is a lot of power to be had, even like in the book of Eli, that Edomite that wanted this book.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted the book, but he said that book has power, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in this book, man, and the knowledge that's through the Fear of Yahweh outside that's going into this body. You have to be humble through your afflictions. You have to remember that I'm still a man. I'm not a God with this knowledge that I have. I'm still a man. Why? I'm going through all these afflictions. And that's going to make you be able to call upon Yahweh Shai, right? For comfort.
Yeah, we'll get the last couple precepts and we'll close out.
Yeah.
God, that's what I got.
No, too. In case you got.
You probably got to finish out too.
Oh, okay. Continuing on, 2 Corinthians, it says, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Hamashiach's power may rest on me.
God, that's what we got to do, man. Because guess what? That's showing the Lord's power. Like when you see brothers going through infirmities, they might have different ailments they going through, and they still serving the Lord, is glorifying Hamashiach. And ultimately, when you actually return, and you actually endure all those things, it's going to really show us power. It's going to show, like, man, it was the Lord that was with you through that whole time. Basically, we're being refined, we're being formulated to be like Yahushua. But the ultimate transformation happens whenever he comes back in that chariot. So this hell we going through is us being molded into being like Yahushua. Which is why I got this right here. It's James 1, I'm going to get verse 2-4. It says, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. There's all types of hell you catch. You know, you're tried all types of ways. You might have to forsake different relationships, lose different opportunities. You might get an infirmity, get an injury. You might get a messed up ass wreck and lose your vehicle, so on and so forth. It's going to be hell because the Lord is trying you out to see, okay, if I take away this thing, is he still going to keep that same energy towards me? He's still going to believe the same way? So the Lord tries his servants out. It says, verse 3, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, so it builds up your patience. So in order to gain more faith, you got to go through what? Long suffering. You got to get put in situations where you got to wait. Because if you wait on something, that means you believe a different outcome can happen. So the Lord going to put us in different situations where we got to wait. You know, and that situation that you're waiting on can be very uncomfortable, which he's going into in this chapter. This is verse 4. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing, which means to be complete. And that's ultimately what we want to be. We want to be fully in the image of Yahushua.
Sure.
But in order to be like Yahushua, you got to walk that walk like he went through. And he called hell, man. And even the disciples that followed Yahushua called hell, his brother went into. You read about what happened to Paul, 2 Corinthians 11 chapter. You read about how some of the disciples went out, James and John and Zebedee. You see, so on and so forth. They called it hell, man. It was you can't. The scripture says if you shall look godly, you don't suffer. But ultimately, the beauty of it is you're being groomed to be built up like Yahushua. It's molding you to be like Yahushua. That's the beauty of the suffering.
Yeah.
Wow. Anybody got anything else?
All right, Con. Hey, Lord willing, man, I'm Baratazar. This is edifying. All right, continue, to strive and fight, for Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, because if you do that, He's gonna fight for you. So with that, we're gonna give all praise, honor, and glory unto
Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Hashem Makakwadash.
Love honors to the apostle, knows the great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.